Hello, I'm Ronnie Eldridge, and welcome to Eldridge and Company. Diane Mastrorocco is an artist and art historian by training, a calligrapher by trade, and a personal savior by nature. This is a very personal story, both for you and for me. Diane is a personal savior because you are a great Weight Watchers leader.
Well, thank you for the compliment. Yes, I am a Weight Watchers leader.
And I was fortunate enough to come into your group and lost 20 pounds and basically changed the way I eat. You've lost a lot of weight, but before we do that, I don't want this to be a commercial for Weight Watchers, but I'd like to talk about what a sensible approach it is and what it means to people. And what weight means to people. And maybe we should start with your story.
Yeah, my story is I started as a Weight Watchers member back in 1986, and what even precipitated me joining the Weight Watchers group was the fact that my 10th college reunion was going to be a year and a half down the pike, and I thought, I am not going back to my alma mater looking and feeling the way I did on that certain day. So I actually got myself to a meeting, and I like to tease members when I'm explaining my story as my intro to Weight Watchers. I went to the meeting, I weighed in, I had sticker shock because I was clueless as to what I weighed. Yeah. Then it was given to me a weight recommendation that I lose between 80 and 100 pounds. I laughed in the woman's face, I sat through the meeting, and then I cried the whole way home. It was very, very painful. But you join Weight Watchers, you go to meetings, you stay in the group, and you start to reconsider how you approach food, how you approach your life, what's important to you. And ultimately, I did lose 90 pounds in 16 months, and I've now maintained that weight loss for coming on 17 years.
Which is one of the most important parts of it.
It's another challenge.
Yeah. Did you weigh that much in college?
By the time I got out, no. And then I came back to New York City, which is my hometown, and started my life as a young adult, which meant getting a job, finding a place to live, and I was off and running. And I thought I could eat whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And I just gained weight.
So you became a Weight Watchers, what do you call it, a leader?
Weight Watchers leader. We're the people who run the meetings, facilitate the meetings, explain the program.
But it serves two purposes in a way. It keeps you connected to the program, but also because of this incredible change in your life that you believe in this program so much, you really are able to encourage and inspire people to do the same thing.
Well, thank you. But I first consider myself a Weight Watchers member.
Yeah.
And anybody that works on the Weight Watchers staff must have gone through the Weight Watchers program. I think that means a lot. So I'm first a member, which means I watch what I eat, the points. I still go to meetings. I always went to meetings. I weigh in once a month because just because you're working for a company doesn't mean that food is not an issue or weight will not be an issue. It's really a chronic condition in a lot of ways.
That's what the American Obesity Association says, that it is a chronic illness. They call it an illness. One of their objectives is to define obesity as an illness, which is an interesting concept. And they say that almost 2/3 of the American population is overweight. 1/3, 20% of that 2/3 is obese. And it's now, just read in the paper recently, it's edging up on tobacco as the first most preventable death. You know, the issue for preventable deaths, that
and of
it
course,
is so damaging.
According to what I read, it's also going into the younger generations. Now, I've been a Weight Watchers leader for 15 years, and I do see more and more younger people in the meeting room at this time.
And it's also supposedly runs in families. I mean, if you're parents, if you're in a household that has, we should talk about what Weight Watchers is, because it's basically, it's a behavioral modification.
That's one way of putting it. Weight Watchers has a food plan. You come, there's materials, there are guidelines that you need to follow. To me, the first word that jumps to mind when I think of Weight Watchers and the food plan is moderate. It's completely moderate. A member can be as flexible or as liberal as they want, or some people need more guidance. I actually say it's the ultimate in democracy. Some people do well with democracy, and other people need a benign dictatorship, as I politely call it. Aside from that component of the Weight Watchers plan, there's also the group meeting, which is what you happened into, where indeed at certain times, all over the globe actually, we are global, there were Weight Watchers leaders running the meetings. It's facilitating a conversation. It's about the members' issues. It's developing strategies, tactics, tricks, etc. So now I have to ask you, when you wandered into Weight Watchers, what made you even decide that you wanted to do something about your weight?
Well, because I looked awful. That was number one. I had just stopped working, basically, I think. I just decided it was time. Also, I'm getting older. And I was stiff and had a harder time moving around. And I knew I had to do something. And I'm not great at dieting. I don't like rules. That's part of my problem. I believe in a democratic society.
Why am I not surprised at that?
So I tried it on the internet, but it was too lonely, and I finally went. And first place, I loved the group. I loved the place. It was a place that was too small, but it was bright and lovely. And in this group, I found friends of mine from playground days 40 years ago. We used to sit in the playground with our children and people I knew from the neighborhood and everything else. And it was just. The other part of the thing was the warmth of the group and your ability as a facilitator. I mean, you are, as some people just said last week, at the session last week, they come for therapy. It's like a session with a therapist. It's also reminds me of the early consciousness raising in the women's movement. I mean, it's sharing experiences and perceptions. And you realize the reasons why people eat. They eat for many different reasons. But you also realize how important people's bodies are and the image and what they think and how we do things. It's
and I think once somebody gets into a Weight Watchers meeting room, they start to respect their own body more. I call myself a concierge in a lot of ways. We're not therapists. We are facilitators with the conversation.
You don't like to hear that, but
No, I'm not saying that. It's just that I call concierge, somebody who gets all these factions together to meet the needs of the clients, which are the members in this particular case. The other thing I find quite interesting, and as I mentioned, I've done this for 15 years, is when people tell the truth, they make great leaps and bounds in approaching or confronting their food challenges, their issues. And I think our particular group is one of the most truthful groups I've happened upon.
Is that because it's the west side of Manhattan?
Oh, I can't qualify that. There are other very truthful groups, but there is a warmth in all of the meetings.
Yes.
Some meetings are more what I call anonymous. They're bigger groups. People are on their lunchtime. They come in, they'll spend just a handful of minutes, and they'll leave. As long as they've gotten out of the meeting what they need. No, even beyond weighing in, sitting down and spending a handful of minutes, even though they have to go back to their desk. As long as they've gotten what they need for that particular day to get them through the week, that's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, this group is very warm and very supportive, and I think though that's basically an aim you have, isn't it, in a group, to have it be supportive of the members in it?
Yes, when they're in the meeting room, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, when I went to Weight Watchers, I went to my group. I found the group that felt good, that felt right, because every group has a different feel to it.
How many groups did you go to?
Before I found my group? Oh, probably about 4.
Oh, really?
Because actually in the 80s, Weight Watchers did not have as many meetings as we do now. They did not have a meeting on the west side. I traveled to the east side. And I found not just the group that felt right for me, but also the leader that was my kind of person. I say a lot of life is luck, finding the right shoemaker, dry cleaner, guidance counselor, mentor at work, finding the right Weight Watchers leader that you can connect to that person. Because it is a very personal kind of business, as you say.
I know when you go away for a month, there are a lot of different discussions because every week there's somebody different. So we see different leaders. But
yes, and I call that's your opportunity to meet and learn something from other people. I call them guest leaders.
Yeah, that's a very great thing. So how many people have you had in a group that have lost as much weight as you have?
Oh, I couldn't even begin to guess, but a lot of people have lost a chunk of cash, as I politely put it.
And how does it change their lives?
They see themselves differently, and they start to live the lives they want. This is one of the thoughts that's come to me in the recent past, maybe within the last year, in terms of how I approach my life as a Weight Watchers leader, is I want people to be living the life they want to lead. When I joined Weight Watchers, what I got from it was obviously losing 90 pounds, which was a great thing. I mean, talk about your joints not hurting or your feet not hurting and not breathing heavily when you go up the subway stairs. But I started to live a different kind of life. I said, I became a brave, courageous person.
That just happened to you.
It was a process. I mean, I think the whole weight loss, the actual weight loss is obviously a process and ongoing. A lot of members refer to it as a journey. You've heard that word in the meeting room, of which there is no end, which I like that idea.
Yeah.
You're always on the move, always learning something about your approach to food and to life. But I really will try anything now. And don't you think that's a great way to live your life?
Absolutely, it should be.
It should be. People that don't have weight problems or issues should be living their life like that.
So what are the things you do?
In terms of nitty-gritty, still the basic strategies. And it's funny because I was with some colleagues of mine about 2 weeks ago, and we were talking, brainstorming together, what we did as weight-losing members and what we do as lifetime maintenance people.
So explain that to me, because I've never quite understood that. To become a lifetime member, what happens? How do you get to be
Well, first of all, somebody will join Weight Watchers and lose weight, and ultimately we will help them pick what they consider their personal best.
Let's just start at the beginning. You come to a session, you stand online usually, you get a card, you have a card at home that you keep with you that keeps your weekly weight. But there's also another card that you pick out of a file. You stand online, you get weighed, you mark the thing in.
Right. Now, a member is leaving with their membership book, which is number one, their personal progress record, and number two, their entree ticket to any meeting they wish to go to.
I see.
They can go to any meeting. They don't have to go to where they
travel
signed
around
up.
the world, they can find a place to go.
Exactly, and they do. I've had members bring me photographs of the Paris office, an office in Spain, and they go, and it's great fun. I call it a sociological adventure, no matter where they go.
So then they sit down and we have a half-hour talk. Do you develop a theme usually for that half hour?
Actually, I'm given a theme. A concept that I am going to talk about. And that's why I have that flip chart every week. But as I like to say, sometimes there's anarchy in the meeting room. And I say that as a compliment in a nice way.
Yes.
Whatever the members need that particular day, whatever their challenge is, we go with it. And then at the end of the meeting, I or every Weight Watchers leader does a getting started session, which is an explanation of the actual food plan, the points program, those materials, the nitty-gritty thing.
And you sit in the room, you get a name tag, first names. People don't really know very much about other people unless people want to tell them about themselves.
I'm big into names. Otherwise, everybody would have the name Ronnie or Diane. I really... It's so infrequently that people actually address you by name in life. Right? They just come up to you and start their sentence. So I like the names.
It becomes a very personal, warm thing that way.
But I start to say, when I joined Weight Watchers and found my group, that was my group, and I went cross town to the east side, I loved the people in that meeting. I loved my leader. I loved the food plan. But I did not socialize with those people outside the room. That was my little safe house, as I call it, safe place. I got what I needed from the meeting at that time. And I did not socialize with those people, which was fine with me. A lot of people meet and connect, whether they played with them on the playground or they just meet new people and want to have what I call an off-campus buddy, which is fine. But you could do this in a solitary way, or, you've heard me say, people are like fax machines. They're either in reception mode, they're sitting in the meeting, they're learning, they're getting something from it, or they're transmitting. They're giving ideas, or they're expressing their point of view or their challenges or their emotions, or they're telling the truth. And it changes from week to week.
So now the Weight Watchers plan itself is a moderate plan. It really doesn't exclude any food.
No, we do have certain guidelines that people need to follow, because you have to have certain food products, fruits, vegetables. You need some protein. You have to have milk products. But within the points that a member is allotted, they may assign those points to in a way in which it would satisfy them, make them happy.
It's not about deprivation.
I don't think so at all.
No, right. But it is about, when I say it's a behavioral modification, it is about portion control.
Well, that's one thing. It's about changing habits.
Changing habits, right.
So let me ask you, tell me one habit you feel like you've changed to lose 20 pounds.
Well, I certainly try not to nosh, and I try consciously not to finish cleaning everybody else's plates. And I am very conscious. I've cut down on starches. We have practically no starches. I'm very conscious of the carbohydrates and of the fruit and the different balance. And I try very hard with the portions because I think that's always been my major thing. I've always eaten as if it's the last meal I'm ever going to have, especially if it's something I like to eat. You know, I'm never going to have this again, so I just have to have another bite.
So why would you bother trying to do this or actually doing it?
Well, I think because A, you look good, and I love it when people say, oh, you're looking so well, and B, because I think physically it's helping me. I mean, I'm at an age where my hips are beginning to bother me, and my back bothers me, and my feet bother me, and I can't help but think it makes sense that if you're haven't got as much weight to carry around, you're going to feel better. So I know that it's important to my health. I'm sure that becomes a more important factor as people get older.
Yes, when people are what I politely call chronologically challenged, like I am, that health issue starts to tie in. But there's a vanity involved. I like going to my closet and knowing that everything in there is going to fit and I don't have to try it on.
You save your cleaner's tickets from one year to another.
I do, because it's a real visual impact that I can decide the night before which outfit I am wearing to work, to the party, to the big event, and not have to try it on. That dry cleaner tag is on there. And why don't I have to try it on? I know it's going to fit and look fabulous. And you know, I call that the power position. It makes me feel very powerful. It improves the quality of my life. It's much easier. You're not in the room in the morning throwing your clothes around thinking, what should I wear? And then leaving the house in something that doesn't make you feel good.
One of the members of the group said she lost so much weight that she had nothing to wear because it was all too big. And we even started at one point of giving away big clothes. We were going to exchange them, but it didn't work too well. But you have certain techniques that you strongly advise.
Well, I started to say this. I was with some Weight Watcher colleagues a couple of weeks ago, and we were brainstorming what did we do as weight-losing members and what do we do now as lifetime maintenance people who do not want to lose weight, we just want to maintain. And I'm telling you, Ronnie, we could not think of any concept, strategy, tactic that was mutually exclusive to lifetime. It was the basics. It was the portion control, drinking the water, moving your bones, exercise, all of those things, writing it down. You have to continue
That's the
those.
thing that I have the hardest time with.
What, the writing it down?
Writing it down, because I'm so uncompulsive. I've tried to make myself compulsive, but it's very hard.
Well, I say this, to thine own self be true. I don't think people can change their temperament or make themselves into something they're not. So which element of the Weight Watchers program could a member do? Some people don't write it down.
Yeah. Now, exercise is very important. You also have spent a lot of time talking about all the things there are to do in the world other than eating.
Well, I would say that's my personal point of view, my personal policy. You know, I'm always saying to members, do something else with your friends besides eat out. We're in one of the greatest cities, if not the greatest city in the world. There are so many things to do, as I like to say, not even for a lot of money. New York is very entertaining. There's many museums to go to.
Right.
There's readings, lectures, Central Park.
Yeah. And we had a long discussion last week about whether eating out is for the food or for the friends. It was very interesting. Carol said that she loves to go to parties and she likes to go to people's houses, and she realized that she likes to do that because she knows she's going to eat.
Well, for some people it is about the food, and for other people it's not.
So it gets to be very heavy when you really begin to delve into this whole question of losing weight. It's really, are people lonely? Are they satisfied? I mean, isn't it? I mean, it's all connected with a person's psychology and own.
And my line is, food is a symbol for something else going on in my life.
Yeah.
It's not fuel for me, and probably not for most people that need to join Weight Watchers.
Right. So do you find from some of the people that you have in your groups the insight that comes along with the losing of the weight?
They see their lives differently. They see themselves differently. And part of it has to do with physically how their body moves through space. It comes more easily, and that health is maybe improved, or they're decreasing their medications, but also how people perceive them.
Yeah.
when you lose weight, and you know how we're socialized in this country with all these magazines and thin people and whatnot.
Right. You're always caught because you see these 14-year-old models and you want to be like them. I mean, I'm still buying Vogue or something periodically and looking at the pictures. I want to look like that. Then I see myself in the mirror and I'm shocked. At the same time, you know that you're supposed to be thinner. So how do you you know, it's a very hard reconciliation.
I'm feeling like I cannot change that industry.
Yeah.
That
Right.
is your freedom of the press. That's
Right.
your democracy in action, but I can fight against it in my own way. Am I the best I can be today, given my life?
And you think of yourself now as a thin person.
I do. It took a
That's
long
interesting.
time because to lose 90 pounds, which is just about another person, it's very hard to get used to how your body feels, how it moves, and people's reactions to you. And I did keep my weight off for 5 years, the first 5 years, just by walking all over New York. I was not a true exerciser. I walked, which we do know is exercise. And
You got this.
I'm a pedometer. You know I'm a pedometer maven. I love that. This is a walking town. You can find out how many steps you've taken and how many miles you've walked. And then 5 years of maintaining, I started reading all these articles about osteoporosis. So maybe this is 12 years ago, 13, 14, which was a word I had never heard of before. I thought, what is this? Loss of bone density, which affects men and women. Thinking I should really get with the program and start doing some resistance training and, of course, stretch and flex and something cardio, which is something that Weight Watchers has incorporated into their materials. So after I started doing that, I had a better sense of my body. It's a beautiful piece of equipment. It's a gift. And how my body moved and worked, and I was more aware of it and in tune with it. When you exercise, you really start to feel your muscles, your bones. Right. And then I thought, I guess I'm a slim person. I'm a slim person.
So interesting.
You look stunned by this remark.
No, I'm not. I'm fascinated by it. I think it's great. I mean, I begin to feel it because I do some weightlifting and stuff, and I'm always, you know, I'm always with my grandchildren. Look at my muscle. But I was thinking that Glorious Dynam, who's I think has always been thin. Now, this was 20 years ago that she said this. She said she always thinks of herself as a fat person. I can't imagine that. And I know when I first lost the weight, you lose all sense of what size you wear, right? That's a common thing.
Oh, you do. And I remember that first summer after I had gotten to goal weight, going shopping with my sister and going into a store, and they have the rack with all the little plastic circles with the sizes, and going down the rack to double-digit numbers, and the saleswoman coming over to me and said, "May I help you?" I said, "Yes, I'm looking for an outfit." She goes, "Oh, but you're not that size, dear." Taking me down the rack, down the rack, down the rack. That was a shock to me. I said, "Oh, I guess I'm a slim person, a small person."
That's so great. The other revelation is that you think you're thin, even if you've lost 20 pounds, and I'm still not thin. And then when I see myself, I realize I'm not thin at all. So what am I talking about? But let's talk about this. This is another question that has been raised. What is the difference between this diet and the Atkins and, say, South Beach? I went in. I decided I was going to look at the South Beach diet. We actually have a friend who was who wrote it. It's a long story, and I don't want to take the time. But he's made a lot of money, and he finally his wife has been able to change the carpeting in the house they bought and couldn't afford to do anything in. But what's the difference?
In terms of the actual food plan or program, whatever word any company uses, I don't know, because I don't know South Beach, Atkins. I meet a lot of members who have tried those programs. And what I always say about the Weight Watchers points, because we count points, every piece of food in the world has been assigned a point value, and a Weight Watchers member gets to eat X number of points per diem, depending on their current weight. They can eat their points pretty much however they wish, again, within those healthy guidelines. So if people are oriented toward more protein, because they did try that on another diet, they can come to the world of Weight Watchers and spend more points on protein. Now, we have the group support. To me, that is the essence.
And you also, Weight Watchers is a lifetime commitment.
I think so.
I don't get that feeling from the Atkins diet.
Well, I'm thinking, where would you get that feeling from? From whom?
From Atkins? Well, it's just a diet that is so exclusive of so many foods that you really want to eat, and so high in others that kind of question your sensibilities that you know you couldn't do it forever.
I do know that weight loss industry is big business. Okay?
Yeah.
The self-help portion of it, element of it, is big business. It didn't work for me. I tried to lose weight by myself. There's something about that group support, that accountability factor of weighing in once a week as a weight-losing member. If you're a lifetime member, meaning that you have maintained your weight loss and you're at the weight you want, you must weigh in at least once a month. That is the ultimate accountability factor. I need that group support. And in all these years that I've been working for Weight Watchers, I have never met one person who lost their weight and maintained it and didn't weigh in. The people that don't weigh in are the ones that might gain it back.
We've come to the end of this half hour. You usually end a session with a saying. Do you have one now, or can you remember anything?
Yes, absolutely. You know,
All right.
It's one of my favorite
Yeah.
sayings from George Eliot. It's never too late to be what you might have been.
Very good. Thank you very much, Diane Mastrorocco.
Thank you, Ronnie. My pleasure.